Hi, Dr. Moody. This is Sarah Bowling. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what I put together here for the ePortfolio. When I saw this project, I thought this was pretty cool. It's not something I had thought of before, but it's certainly something that's very relevant professionally. So I had a hard time not wanting to actually turn it into a professional piece, a resume, or an artifact of my work professionally. So at times I was struggling to say, well, why do I need to put this piece in here? Well, they don't need to know about this, because I just couldn't wrap my head around the idea that this is an academic exercise and not something that I would be. So what it has done is certainly whet my appetite to build something like this outside of the classroom and utilize it in my professional capacity. As I said, I wanted to kind of build this thing as if it were something I was actually using in the real world. So not following instructions here, I actually worked within the HTML window and embedded this information. But to follow your directions, I also have a link within for the Google Docs. So the same thing over here, because I respect that you're going to want to be able to take these and download them and do whatever it is that you do with them to evaluate them. So the same information is there. And I promise I did not do that throughout these pages. It's just a couple of them here that I couldn't help myself. I just felt it looked nicer to have it in like that. Technology, philosophy, I'll get back to that because obviously I passed it. And the resume, I just simply embedded it. I added the link to it here. Go backwards here to technology, philosophy. And I've been a fan of text since 1980s. I've been a fan of text since you used a dial-up modem and your internet was free. And I've always felt like there is a really big picture for technology and for the average user, even way back when. I'm so proud of being able to teach seniors how to use technology and to be a resource for them. That's one of the things I do on the side, and I love when they come back with stories about how somebody raised their eyebrows because here's this 83-year-old lady who's just flying through her iPhone or her Android phone, or using her email, or somebody who's more proficient than maybe a 40 or a 50-year-old would be. So I'm very rewarded by that experience, and I enjoy doing that, and I'm going to continue to do that as long as I can. The activity evidence over here. Let's see here. I should have deleted some of this stuff. Here I am, pretty much in the 11th hour doing this. So there's a lot of aesthetics with the page that with the whole site actually, that I would have liked to have played around with, and I really didn't too much. This professional development plan is another piece that I felt just looked better to go ahead and drop it into the page itself. But again, I also have it down here where you can download the document from Google. There were tons of professional development templates. This one is something that I'm familiar with and I've used in the past, so I brought it about and used it again. A lot of them utilize, is it something that's attainable? Is it something that you can put a timeline on, the SMART profile on it? So this one actually does that. Gives me what I need for the SMART profile. Article summaries. I had an interesting time with this because there were some recurring themes, and I don't know if it's in me inherently that I just dig these things out or what, but one is the over here after progressive K through 12 education, and they looked at high-performing schools, high schools, schools that have a blended learning curriculum and schools that are actually motivating kids to be independent and collaborative and to utilize technology to its fullest extent, and that they come into the college environment and all of a sudden it's traditional learning. So have we prepared them for this? How are we preparing them for this? And what do we need to do about this? So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think it was a theme that was revisited later in one of my other articles or one of these. Perhaps it was a video, YouTube video, I think. I love TED Talk videos, and we'll get to that eventually. These presentations were all stuff that I had done throughout, either academically, and they're meant to instruct or inform my peer group within the student academia, or work. I have down here the Prezi presentation. When I first put it up in here, it was giving me a bit of a problem, so I put the URL right down here, and you can just copy paste it in the browser. As of right now, it's working for me, so that's not a problem. This Prezi is kind of interesting though, because what it was I had taken one of my pre-service trainings with the Release Authority, and they moved us around. They put us somewhere else in another room, and they used a smaller presentation device. It was actually a TV, and because of that, these classic Microsoft PowerPoint slides were not visible to everybody, and I got kind of told about that. So, okay, great. Well, I'm going to do something where no matter what, these people are going to be able to see this. So it's basically a Microsoft PowerPoint mashup with Prezi. And the reason why I had to stick with a PowerPoint kind of thing is because this is the state of Ohio, and this is the training academy, which still hasn't been able to look too far beyond where it's at. And everybody does PowerPoint slides so that they can print them out and have the notes for the students. So this allowed them to have a handout which coincided with the presentation by letting it remain in PowerPoint here. So that's all about the Release Authority and what we do for the most part. Then I also have here this was a proposal, a recommendation or a proposal. They had put together this committee based on a cultural assessment that they did. So I was on this committee, had a bit of a conundrum because I had an obligation in an institution at the same time the executive staff was wanting a report out. So this was a compromise here. And again, I had people view this and go, wow, how did you do that? You know, using Screencast-O-Matic. How did you do that? So there in my organization, again, I was able to share some technology, and I've seen a few people using it now. They're sending emails out with brief tutorials on how to access the document management system or various other little things. So that's kind of cool. And I don't mind that nobody said, hey, look what Sarah showed us how to do. My thing is, if it achieves the objective, then I don't care who claims the credit. Videos will be providing training. This was a challenge, of course, because of the time limitations that I had, and it just wasn't coinciding. So what I did was just a little bit of a compromise. This first training is an 8-hour training. It's very important to us. It's something that does come around just about every month in the pre-service class. And it's all about verbal strategies. And this is the what you do, what you try to do to de-escalate a situation in the institution using your words, because we don't want to get to the next step, which is managing youth resistance, the physical side of things. We don't want anybody to go there. So we really, really, really work hard and put a great deal of emphasis on the verbal strategies piece. and it goes into great depth. As you can kind of see from the screen capture, it's stopped up on the slide. It gives a little science behind our communication skills. How to navigate a wiki or create and navigate a wiki. I built that for one of my classes here, so for my peers. Down here with the wild card, it's just maybe a little tongue-in-cheek, I'm not sure, because it's specifically meant for you to view, and it gives a side-by-side view of Google Docs and Microsoft's OneDrive. So Google Drive and Microsoft's OneDrive, and the documents there. Microsoft, since November of 2014, has made available for free use the Microsoft Suite in OneDrive. So I think it's a great resource to present, but I know how dedicated you are to Google. So I explained my rationale a little bit in that presentation there, in that submission. So if you're interested in viewing it, you can. If you want to just stick your tongue out at it, you can do that too. Extra resources. I think here it again dovetailed with that whole concept of the challenges of technology and assimilating technology, and the methods that we're using to train in schools, and how is that coming out either in real-world applications, students coming into the job force, or students going into higher education. There's also an article here that talks a little bit about colleges, online classes, and what's going on with that, which I find that's my greatest point of interest, is online education, adult education online. I'd love to pick up a second career as an adjunct for online education. As being a student, of course, I have a very good viewpoint on that, and I've been involved in not just Fort Hays, but a number of other types of online learnings, to include MOOCs, which that's another fun experience. But also the online professional development plan examples. One thing I found interesting is that when it came to the professional development plans, there was actually such a wide variety and type that they had. A lot of it seems like is more focused on educational career development, which I thought was unusual, not to see more of that in the mainstream, or in the public sector, or private sector, I mean. The other interesting article, or the other interesting observation I had, was in researching the ePortfolio, learning something about that I didn't see a whole lot of examples of a individual ePortfolio, and I can write that off as being a result of privacy issues. Probably people by invite only is what you would want to do for something like that. But it would have been nice to have seen more just basic, maybe some generic templates if somebody had them out there, and that would be like an educational, I imagine, institutions that would do something like that. Again, there was a dearth of personal examples of an ePortfolio, tons and tons of corporate ePortfolios, and really not much in the way of people talking about personal ePortfolios. I think it's a fantastic resource for us professionally, whether you are just entering the job force, or if you are looking for another job, or even if you're using it as a persuasive argument for an advancement in your organization. So I do feel like it's something that I'm going to be doing in the future. I'm running out of time here, but I do want to thank you. It's been such a pleasure to study with Fort Hays, to be at Fort Hays. I got the pleasure sitting with the president at graduation, and I made sure to let her know what a fantastic program this was. Talk to you tomorrow.